Yeah, this one really makes me laugh, John. I wanted to ask you actually, would you call it beta or beta?
We usually say beta.
Yeah,
Beta.
because of course English school, it's we're taught the Greek alphabet. Heaven, God knows why, but we are alpha, beta, gamma, delta, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Whenever I've heard it in business, it's almost like, yeah, we're always in beta, like this. Sounded more American to me. And I don't know what your understanding of this phrase is, but I find it really interesting because, on the one hand, if a company says we're always in beta or beta, then on the one hand, they're being humble because they're saying we're always trying to improve everything, make it better. We're never so arrogant as to assume that the thing's ever finished. But on the other hand, as a customer, I look at that and think, what do you mean you're not finished? What do you mean you're still testing this thing? I don't want something that's still got bugs in it. I want something that is proven to work, and then I'll pay a decent price for it.
Yes, that's very similar, I think, in a lot of ways to how it's used in the U.S. I think it does have multiple meanings though in the United States. I mean, often always in beta is used to describe the increasing pace of technology, or really how brands and companies how they like to think about the process of bringing new products to market. And so in its most positive form, it can be used to signify that the developers of this product or this service, they're committed to improving the product or the process based on data that they collect, from users of that product. However, it's more frequently used sort of as a qualifier to signify that something is in perpetual test mode, and as if they're always asking, well, how could we do this better? Maybe even when the previous product or procedure worked just fine last month, So, but it can also mean that we've permitted ourselves to do nothing about the decade of data that we're already accumulating. That this product or this policy or the procedure we're using, it's not defective. It's just a beta version. So don't criticize us, because at the end of the day, it's always in beta. But one thing it can also be used as is a warning to consumers, that mistakes are likely to occur, problems might occur, but we're not going to take responsibility for it, because it's just a pre-ready version of what we want. It's interesting though that always in beta does have its limits. I remember that when the Apple's iPhone 4 was launched, most Apple consumers know that, okay, if they're early adopters, they're going to have to kind of accept some bugs, potentially in the system. But when the antenna failed on the iPhone 4, there was a lot of consumer backlash. And I remember that, although that Apple consumers appear willing to usually put up with things like inconsistent batteries, antennas are not going to not working properly is not going to be tolerated. But ultimately Apple has survived, because they have a built up reputation of years of goodwill. But there are few companies with that kind of reputation, and remaining in beta too long could prove fatal for young companies without such a reputation. So it certainly has its limits. It's a warning often, but consumers will only go so far with that before they abandon the product or the process or the service.
I really like the idea of it being an excuse in a way. We're really sorry, potential customers, but this could be a bit crap. It might not work very well. And I wondered, because I've never heard, but have you ever heard of a company claiming to be in alpha or perhaps be in gamma. What do you reckon?
I've never heard that. No,
Neither have I.
and it would seem natural. Yes, it would seem natural that if they use always in beta or even sometimes in beta, or this product is in beta, that they would turn around and say, well, this is the alpha or the omega. This is the final launched version. But no, I've never heard that.
I've also been fascinated, by the way, because it's an alphabet, as in alpha, beta, gamma, delta. Which comes first? Do you run an alpha one first, discover that it's a bit rubbish, make some improvements, and then call it beta, and then hope to stride on to gamma? Or is it going the other way? Would you end up with an alpha product eventually?
Yeah, it's not clear, and I think that's part of what reveals that the lack of a tendency to use that kind of language throughout sort of reveals that you're dealing with a bullshit word in most cases, or it's to disguise that, something, there's some commitment, to making the final product. But I can tell you also, Kevin, in usage of software that I use in my experiments, there's always a new software package that's used to conduct online or PC experiments in research labs. And these things are in perpetual beta, always in beta mode. I mean, because some of them are not even able to be launched yet online, but the promise is that, if you invest in this software, if you buy this for your lab, that will eventually get to the online version, which everyone wants. So we just want you to test it out. But I know there are some softwares that have been in this beta mode for 5 to 10 years. And it's sort of this illusion that that a promise will be made, but you never really know, because it's support staff and developers, they come and go, but it's been used, I think, in software development more than anything. And that's where I think it's most uncertain.
That sounds fair to me. I think that's where they get away with it, because software is sort of ephemeral stuff that can perpetually evolve. But if you go and buy something at the grocery store, you can't have an evolving thing. You want it to work today, whatever it is, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.